And now may I request Mr. Yogesh Wadhwa, Alliance General Counsel, Renault Nissan, to express his views about managing risk and compliances for mega alliances. Sir, may we have a round of applause, please?
Thank you. I think if we talk of compliance, that's one of the sensitive subjects to all the GCs to the heart, I'll say, wherein the big responsibility is casted on all of us to ensure that while we support the business totally when it comes to running of the show, but equally we are also ensuring that we are working to the ethics and to the integrity. But a lot of times we come across a lot of challenges wherein a fine balance needs to be made. So I'll start my discussion with a small example wherein I try to make a comparison of what, say, a compliance culture of a company could be. So, on a normal day-to-day, while we are driving on the road, and if we come across a red signal where there's not much of a traffic, a lot of us will notice that a lot of people, despite that it's a red signal, they'll keep jumping. Suddenly, someone will come who'll stop, because the signal is red. Seeing that person, a couple of other people will also stop, but still, a couple of the people are still, they're just jumping the red signal. And suddenly, somewhere out of the blue, they'll see a police guy who's standing on the other side of the red signal to cut a challan, and everyone will stop. So I think, in my view, this is what a compliance culture is also, wherein, as a personal view, I feel that everyone, all the employees, they wish to comply. They want to work with integrity. But still, there are many, many people who largely depend on the culture and they want to be guided what they want to do and what they don't want to do. And here, the larger role of what is being, preached is actually practice or not, that counts. I'm sure, we all come across many, many kind of examples wherein many of the large companies in the auto sector also, for example, they did things which were unethical, which were against integrity, and that has led to a lot of repercussions for them. We have examples of companies where they got into a kind of a scenario where they offered kickbacks to get a big time of contracts, or just to ensure that their brand image is not getting affected. They keep on running the business despite knowing the fact that whatever they are doing, that's not as per either the safety norms or that is not as per the industry standards. But unless they are caught, things keep on going. So when we say that we have to ensure a kind of a compliance culture in alliance or any of the big entities, I think the biggest message is practice whatever we are telling. So there has to be tone on the top, what we keep on saying again and again, which has to flow from the senior most people of the companies to say, yes, this is what I want, and this is what I expect everyone to follow. Despite the fact that this might affect my profits, despite the fact that this is going to affect my image, but if there is something wrong, please report. And for those kind of reasons, one, as a GC of the company, as lawyers of the company, there's a responsibility which is casted on us to bring in and supplement that kind of a culture through a possible rigorous kind of trainings. In my company, in my previous company, that was a very routine kind of a thing where we are going and telling people about the policies of the company. But a step before we do the training, as a first step, we need to ensure that those policies are in existence. And once those policies are there, unless people understand the rules, unless people understand the regulations, they will be lost. They will not know what needs to be done. I came across an example where one of the employees came to me of my previous company and he said, I'm feeling that whatever I'm doing is wrong, but when I asked my manager what should be done, my manager said, just forget it. This is not going to help you, this is not going to help me, and our sales number is going to get affected. What should I do? So in that kind of a scenario, that's where it's very, very important that we all need to ensure that there's a clear mandate from the management to follow the policy of the company very, very strictly. If we are not doing it, then what are the consequences? The consequences could be in terms of, say, the brand image getting affected. The consequences could be in terms of, say, our stock prices getting affected. The consequences could be in terms of, say, penalties getting imposed. But I'm sure as an employee of the company, as a customer of a product, we all want to buy something from a company which follows and behaves in a very ethical kind of a manner. So the message is we do what we expect others to follow. We do what we want the company to follow. Otherwise, we can be all in a trouble. And again, as a next step also, it's very, very important that we prescribe a kind of a non-retaliation kind of a policy in the company. Because if that policy is not there, the people who wish to report something also, to blow a whistle, they can be very, very nervous. They may be reluctant to come out and report anything because they might feel that, I'll be the next person to be fired by my manager because I'm reporting something wrong or of the company. So there we need to have a very, very strict kind of policies where we, ensure that a due protection is given to such kind of employees. So a compliance culture, an integrity, an ethical kind of a scenario, as an employee, we need to ensure that we all take very, very seriously. That's the message I wanted to give. I'm happy to take, I'm just keeping it very short. I'm happy to take any questions if there is something for me. Please.
I think, thank you for this brief note because it hits, I think, straight at the head of the nail and talks about ground realities. But could you share your experience of some of the steps you may have taken to drive this change in human behavior to make it more compliance friendly in a corporate setup?
See, the most important thing to drive is train people and educate them about what is the expectation. So whenever I train on such kind of principle, I ensure that the opening up session is given by the MD of the company, where the MD is standing next to me and saying in the same language that this is the expectation. And once those trainings are given, a kind of, a kind of rapport is built by the people, wherein people also get a kind of an understanding that this is something very, very important. But equally, as a second step, we ensure that whosoever is not following the right practices, an action is taken against them. So my company has been very, very strict when it comes to any of the whistleblower kind of complaints. We take it very, very seriously. We do on a very regular basis investigations. We have an internal robust complaints committee which looks into that. And the people who have done something wrong, the answer for them is very, very clear. They have to walk out of the door. Be it many of the senior most people. I mean, we have come across situations where something drastically really went wrong and there were many, many people who were aware of that kind of a thing. Not that they were directly involved in that. Even those people were not left out. Given the fact that if you're aware of something where something is going wrong, it's your duty to speak up. It's your duty to bring to the attention of the people that this is something happening which is wrong and blow the whistle. So to answer your question, twofold, trainings as well as penalties.
Just to add on what Yogesh is saying, I'm from former company, so integrity and ethics are in our blood, and how we do it, similar the way Yogesh has said, that it has to be senior most person has to drive it, and every time when we train in person, we ensure that there should be a follow-up after the training, the trainer feedback's taken, then the mailer starts going to them. Then their online training, we use it to supplement the in-person trainings to ensure that the compliance and ethics are being followed. And what we try to do is explain the engineers, the workers at the lower level to be simple, no legalese, very simple English that this you can do, this you should not do. And I believe with Prevention of Corruption Act adding liability on the private organization, it is more and more important for all of us as a GC to further robust the process within India.
Thank you, Avnish. I think that's very rightly said. We just need to ensure that there's a tone from the top which goes with what you're suggesting. Unless that kind of support is there, and or even after saying what the management wishes to say as per your requirement, but then doing something else, that's never going to serve the purpose. So work together. But during the day in one of the presentation, it was rightly said that as lawyers, we are working for the company. We are not working for the CEO. So that kind of independence has to be very well maintained when it especially come to the compliance kind of a scenario. Otherwise, we are not doing our job. Please, sir.
Yogesh, I'd like to add one point which is universal, and it has been brought out brilliantly. In fact, I want everybody to read that document. It's called the 5 Essential Compliance Manual by Baker and McKinsey. So there they have brought out 5 essential elements what any compliance management program or any company should have in terms of its compliance structure. As you rightly mentioned, the first thing is set the tone at the top. The message or the vision has to come right from the top to the bottom. Second is you should have your standards and controls well in place. And those standards and controls will be backed by your systems and procedures. And another important aspect is training. And when it says training, it has to be continuous and ongoing training process. Yes. And finally, nothing gets completed unless you have an auditing and a review. So these are the 5 essential components which in case any organization has in place, there is no way that that organization can go wrong.
Very rightly said, sir. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Wadhwa.